feed the carp whilst having a chat. So they're quite excitable, coming quite close. The mirror carp ate way more than the common did every time I filmed them. It's not perfect, as you can probably see from this video. This is the after. Hello, it's Sunday. Well, I've been quite lazy today-ish. Lazier yesterday on Saturday. I didn't do any of the pond cleaning. So today, instead of the usual Saturday cleaning, I did the Saturday and the Monday all in one. So I got in the pond and I cleaned the filters. So that means tomorrow I've got a bit of a free day. So no pond cleaning, which would be quite nice. Now I'm in this kind of weird position here because I'm going to try and feed the carp whilst having a chat. So if I do that, they should come up for it. I've been sat there a while, so they should be relaxed. Maybe not yet. You can see them. Trying to get some of the camera. Yeah, you can see them having a swim around. Anyway, yeah, so not a lot really. It was rained loads yesterday. Which kind of put me back on some of the things I wanted to do. But by and large, everything's still going really well. What I'm definitely going to do tomorrow, and I'm going to do later this evening as well, is get organised on the carp fin video, which I really needed, sort of done quite a few days ago really, if not weeks. But I'm gonna get sorted on getting that out. These carp are definitely not going to come up, are they? And do some general tidying up actually, because everywhere's a bit messy. Even for me, it's a bit messy. So I'm going to do a bit of work on that. They really want it. Are they going to come up? They're rather showing interest, but no. So yeah, the plans for this week. What am I going to get done this week? As I said, quite a bit of tidying up. Both in the garden and in the garage, and the secret project needs a bit of work. Hopefully this week I'll be getting the living things that I'm going to add to the border over there, and maybe share some of them with the fish as well. As I said, in vlog 7 that makes it pretty easy to guess what it is. And I'm going to spend a lot of time. This may seem weird, and obviously I might not have lots to show for it for you. I'm going to spend some time thinking up of some video ideas, because I can't bemoan the fact that some of my views are going down and my average views are definitely going down, and not try and think of something interesting. Now, if you've got any suggestions, I'd appreciate it. If not, don't worry, it's my job. And I am going to do some underwater filming as well, because I really need to get back into that. Yeah, so that's really the plan for this week. Hopefully it's going to be a bit sunnier this week than last week, so it'll be definitely time for some underwater filming. And it's something I can get done when I'm working, because as I think I've said, I work from home most of the time, or at least all my office bound stuff is primarily at home. So I should be able to get some underwater filming done in amongst working on my coffee break. Look at that common carp. They really want to come up, but they're not sure. I haven't actually sat by the pond for quite a while actually, because I've been really busy doing projects and things like that. Because I've been a bit windy, isn't it? I've been trying to get them feeding in the feeding ring, which you may or may not be able to see I've taken out for the time being. I haven't done any of this feeding, which in previous videos, I'll show something there now to prove it, they were getting quite used to me doing, but I haven't done it for a while. And I think this is a sign maybe I should do it a bit more, because they're really quite nervous. I can see you. It's a shame I haven't got any sinking pellets actually, because I think they'd feed off the bottom. yeah, as I say, everything's really good with the pond, no problems. The thing I spoke about in vlog 7, where I was talking about something I'd noticed that was happening when it was raining, didn't happen over the last sort of 36 hours of tons of rain. And I did some testing and it showed nothing that would indicate it either. So I'll test it again and see. I'll maybe mention it. If it's not proven, then I'll maybe just mention what I was thinking about in a later video. Are they going to come up? They're not coming up, are they? Another plan I had, and this is definitely in harebrained scheme territory, is as I've said lots of times, the selfie stick come tripod that I use with a phone, if it's too close to the pond, which it is now, obviously that's what I'm being filmed on now, which is adding to their reluctance, I thought I'll find a way of getting them used to it. And I've got some old phone cases, and I think I'll just gorilla tape an old phone case to any kind of stick and just leave it over the pond and just get them used to there being that kind of shape there by the pond. And I think that might help, because it, you know, the ring they weren't happy with for a couple of days and then they got used to it. So I think that might help generally with filming, and certainly with you know, vlogging around the pond really. Talking about the fin video, I was just looking at the Carp's fin, and I was looking at some old clips and old photos, and it's definitely about 50%, I would say, and that might well be enough actually. I might not do any more to it, as I've said. If you remember way back back in, I think vlog 4 or 5, I was talking about problems with the pump. Since I've more regularly cleaned it out, and since I let it kind of backwash through during cleaning, I've not had any problems with it again. So I think I've solved that particular problem, which is good. It is funny, when you're this close to the water and you're looking down through the water, it always makes the fish look bigger. And the common looks massive. I mean, it's, you know, what, I don't know, 68 centimetres probably now. Might have put a centimetre on, who knows. That's better. That's what I wanted them to do when I was doing all my talking earlier. Yeah, so in terms of work this week, so Monday I'm off, bank holiday, and Friday I'm off, so I'm Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday again. So yeah, I'm definitely more likely to be doing stuff Monday and Friday than the rest of the week. One thing I was going to say about the plants when I was cutting them today is, if I thought the growth rate had slowed down last week, it's really slowed down this week. Hello, Carp. But you know, that's definitely the time of year. Although it is meant to be getting warmer. Isn't a very good throw, is it? It's meant to be getting warmer over this next week and sunnier. But I think, especially the irises, once they slow down, that's kind of it really. Hopefully this week I'm going to get long outstanding videos edited and put together. I'm going to do some filming of the fish, I'm going to do some tidying up, and I'm going to make some plans, get myself organised. Because the one thing with vlogs, you can kind of just drift into just winging it all the time, like I'm doing right now, and that's not necessarily good for the quality of the content. But vlogs are definitely easier to put together, even though I do spend more time editing than I really need to. I just enjoy editing really. You're coming up, fish. When they're a little bit twitchy like this, they remind me of the tench I had. If you don't know, I had a tench that was about 18 inches, 45 centimetres long. And it used to come up to the surface when the 2 carp I had in the pond did. But it was really reluctant. But at that time I used to feed sort of 11mm pellets, and like proper like koi pellets, but really large ones. And the tents used to come up, and it only really had to come up and get a couple, and then it was full really, but it used to come up really slowly, and it would get to the surface and it would suck in the pellet from about 4 inches away. I've got some footage. I'm gonna put the footage in now. Yeah, so it's really what's the word? It was really kind of nervous at doing it. It was it used to pretend to be a carp. It was quite funny. I had 2 other tents for a while as well that were smaller, and they always wanted to hang out with it, but it never really wanted to hang out with them. It would rather hang out with the carp. Right, I'm just going to try, hold on a sec, I'm just going to try doing some proper filming of them. Although if they didn't like the camera that far away, I don't think they're going to like the camera like this. It does mean I'm a bit further away. So there they are. If you're wondering why I'm still throwing in when they're only tentatively feeding, it's just that sometimes it just kind of triggers them, the pellets hitting the surface. So even they're like 50-50 about whether they want to feed or not, pellets hitting the surface and kind of it's kind of like a Pavlovian kind of response on their part. Right, bear with me 1 sec. You can see quite a good view of the carp's fin there. And so I reckon about 50% of it is relatively, I don't want to say repaired, but kind of repaired, I guess. Certainly better than it was, but not as good as maybe I could have wanted. And if you're wondering why they're tolerating the camera and the tripod, I think it's because I've got the tripod and the camera right in front of me, so they probably can't really see it against the outline of my body. So it is a lot more like it's just me sat here, which they're, as I've said many times, they're a lot happier with than the camera. There we go. That fully scaled, I think, is probably about the smallest of the mirror carp, but definitely seems to eat as much. I think in some ways the one with carp box is probably about the biggest, or at least equal biggest, but without getting them all out and measuring them, I don't really know. I think this one coming up feeding now, which is the almost linear, is probably the smallest. That or the fully scaled. And then the ones with less scales are probably the 2 biggest. So the one on carp box and the near leather, which again I've got to think of a better name, are probably the biggest. Right then, I'm going to leave them alone. Yeah, I'm going to leave the fish alone, leave them in peace, and yeah, I will see you later. Hello, it's Monday afternoon, and I've been relatively busy today. I haven't really felt like doing a lot, but I've been relatively busy. I've finally looked at the guttering on my conservatory. I know this isn't pond and garden, but it's kind of garden. I haven't fixed it, but I've looked at what's wrong with it, and I'm going to order some bits. And so I think Friday probably I'll finally fix the monstrosity that I felt quite guilty about, because I haven't done anything about it. Right, I'm going to turn you around. Right then, there we go. Garage is super tidy, which is a job in itself. That bin needs emptying. I've even organised things more on here. Look at that, that's amazing, isn't it? I bet you're all jealous and wish you had a garage like mine. That still hasn't sold, that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, anyway, let's go and see the fish, shall we? That'll be fun. This is predominantly a fish channel after all. I shall grab a handful of food. No, I won't. Bear with me 1 minute. Back in a minute. All right, sorry about that. I couldn't do what I was trying to do one-handed, so camera went down. Anyway, back up. Here we are. You might notice the conservatory is a little bit tidier. I mean, not perfect, but a little bit. There's a sleeping cat. Say hello, cat. She doesn't like cameras on selfie sticks either, any more than the fish do. Right, secret project. I've also tidied up the garden a bit, although again, probably can't tell. I've given all of this a sweep. Around here. Oh, I've put a mat outside the shed. Picked up some of those leaves. And it doesn't look tidy. I haven't gone down behind there. But yeah, I have kind of tidied up a little bit. I've not really ever got a garden that's going to be spotless. Especially until I can sort this patio out, but never mind. Even tidied up down there a little bit as well. Anyway, there's my fish. They want some food. So what I thought I'll do today is, rather than sit and have a look, I thought I'll stand up. I've just spilt loads of it. Let's see if they come up. No, they don't like it, do they? Oh, please come on. It reminds me a little bit, I used to go fishing quite a lot, and I used to really like surface fishing for carp. And there's this thing where to catch carp off the surface, you've got to feed them quite a lot first to get them sort of comfortable feeding off the surface before you should actually, you know, cast the bait out. And it's kind of like these. I should get them feeding happily before I get the camera out, I think. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. I'm trying to do what I was doing yesterday for part of it and putting the selfie stick and the camera kind of in front of me, because I think they just sort of see my shape then and they're less bothered. But I can't really see. Right, hold on a sec. Again, I don't know if it's something about having been a fisherman, but I also need to be really quiet when I'm feeding them as well, which I think is a bit silly. Carp with carp box. It does look better, doesn't it? If you can remember seeing it, it's definitely got better over the summer. Hoping it's, I mean, on that side it's nearly gone. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not going to come back too much in the winter, but we will see. Common carp was really close though, but I couldn't change the camera position. And going back to the video I made about 7 bits of advice I'd give to a new pond keeper, one of them I spoke about was the experience you have having a pond. And for me, this is the experience I kind of wanted, and he's really close now. I mean, I don't want them to be nervous, but I like that they're, you know, they're not total pets, you know. And I like the fact I have to, you know, kind of sit here quietly, and then I get to see them. And then you have to really kind of earn those moments with them. I kind of like that. It's like being by a kind of wild piece of water, really. Which I know is, you know, like I said in that video, is a little pretentious. And again, I have got the camera and the tripod in front of me, so again, it's less kind of obvious to them, and it's not making that kind of shape that they don't like, really. And it's quite interesting. They do what kind of wild carp do as well, in that they've had some food and they'll go off somewhere a little bit deeper and then have a chew on it, and then they'll come back up again and they've ate it. I think it's quite interesting as well. Although the common carp has darkened up quite a lot from when I got it, it sometimes doesn't look quite as dark as the mirror carp do. But maybe that'll come with another year in the pond. The other thing that might come with another year in the pond is the fact that the mirror carp will be 3 or 4 years old, and the common will be 4 or 5 years old. I can't quite remember, but that's certainly old enough and big enough to think about them spawning, really. As I've said, I don't know what the sex of each of these fish are. I think there's enough difference in body shape of the mirror to think that there might be a female and male. Certainly the two with the most scales, so the one that's almost a linear and the one that's fully scaled, they're both considerably narrower than the other two that have got less scales. So that might suggest that they're male and the kind of wider two are female, really. And the common carp, don't know. My bet would be that it's female, but who knows. Now, I'm very much 50-50 in them spawning. On one hand, it'll be really interesting, and you know, it's just part of their natural development kind of thing. And on the other hand, you know, I can't keep any of them. So it might be a little bit of a pain, depending on how many survive. And it'll take a bit of work. Although I won't be, you know, really trying to breed them and grow them on and that sort of thing. I'll move them on somehow. But yeah. Shame that wasn't on camera. They kind of headbutted each other then going for food. So I think these kind of videos and what I was filming yesterday do kind of show that, you know, as long as I go about things the right way, that they're, you know, they're fairly relaxed around me, even though they might spook away. I mean, that common carp then it's hard to see on camera, but it's about a foot away. So, you know, I think as long as I go about things the right way, they're not utterly stressed and terrified when I'm by the pond. They're pretty relaxed, really. I was toying with getting a feeder, but I think because I work from home a fair amount, I don't think I really need to. It's very few days when I'm out all day. Maybe once a fortnight I'll be out for sort of 8 till 5. Most of the time I'm out for sort of a few hours and then I'm back, and yeah, so I don't think I really need to get a feeder. And you know, I mean, this time next year hopefully I'll be retired, so that's even less reason. The other quite important thing to do is to not move the camera very much. So I'm losing some shots of them, but the less I move the camera and just keep it in front of me, the happier they are, really. I am kind of more interested in getting some shots of them coming up quite close to me, like now. But I think, as I said yesterday, I've got out of the habit of doing this, really, with trying to get them feeding out the feeding ring, and yeah, I need to do it more, because the more I do it, even if I just do it once a day, not every time I feed them, the more relaxed they get with it, really. And also the less food I lose, because trying to entice them in for pellets on the surface, if they don't come in and eat them, they end up in the skimmer, which I can. I mean, I'll take the lid off the skimmer when I finish filming and I'll throw them back. But there is a danger I'm gonna waste food, and as I said yesterday as well, sake isn't the cheapest. That bang that just spooked them was my cat. Yeah, it wasn't very helpful of her, was it? Not the one that was asleep, the other one. Like I also said yesterday, I do want to, when I net them in the winter, at the end of the winter, I do want to get some shots of them to kind of really show their scale patterns and colours and whatnot. But also, I really want to think of names for them, rather than the almost leather, the almost fully scaled, the almost linear, and the other one, and the common. I want to try and think of something different to call them. I might even put it up for some kind of vote, as long as they're not called common, not common face or something. And one of the things that I guess I could talk about as well is the shoal of rudd, and now mirror carp. I'd left that one floating there because I want the common to come up and get it. The shoal of mirror carp, sorry, the shoal of rudd, and what I plan to do with them. Now, as you might know, I did do a bit of a selection of them earlier in the year, and kept predominantly the silver ones, and I was going to move on the golden ones, and I changed my mind. And the reason I changed my mind is because I didn't really have a lot of interest from anybody for the rudd I had. So, and it was just dragging on, and I thought, nah, I'll quit it. You know, and I mean, there's 40 odd of them, so there's quite a lot. But because they're still quite small, they don't really make the pond too much like a fish soup, which is one of the things I'd like to avoid. And you know, I'm not feeding them. I don't feed them. They survive on tiny amounts of the carp food that they occasionally are lucky enough to get, or at least nibble on briefly before the carp take it. And then they'll live on algae and plant food and tiny insect life and larvae and that sort of stuff, you know, and they're continuing to grow. I mean, they're probably growing a little bit slower than if I put some food dedicated for them in the pond. I mean, I have done in the past. I've put like 1 mil pellets in, and the carp find the 1 mil pellets really attractive, and they just hoover it all up. So very little of it gets to the rud. So their growth is a little bit slow, but that's fine. So it's another thought that I'm going to have for next year. What am I going to do? Here comes the common again on its little mid-water circle of the pond to see if I'm still sat here. They do like to get in, let's see if my finger point under here, because pellets will kind of come towards the skimmer but not quite go in it and collect around here very often where you can't see. So they're kind of wanting to come in there as well and hoover up some that are left. But obviously I'm sat here. It's going to go out for that one. And it's interesting because they're going to have a look under the lilies at the moment, but they are behaving very differently. So when I'm watching on the CCTV camera, which is directly opposite of where I'm sat now, they spend a lot of their day just kind of down here, down there and underneath the skimmer. They do kind of find it fairly fascinating, and I think that's possibly because they can smell that there's pellets in the skimmer, because invariably some pellets end up in the skimmer. And certainly when the first year I had the mirror carp, they'd have their heads stuck in the skimmer trying to get some of the pellets that had flown in there back out again. It's having a look. It knows those pellets are there, but obviously it knows I'm there too. I feel like David Attenborough a bit at the minute. I did, when I first set this channel up, I did want to do, you know, predominantly underwater filming and trying to get some kind of really sort of wildlife video of the fish. It didn't really work, although I did get some good shots. I mean, I would recommend, if you want to watch any of my videos, like when I started, watch episode 6, which is about feeding. And it's when the channel was still called Keeping Water, and I would really recommend it because it's kind of like the video I always kind of wanted to make, and I did make reasonably, you know, accurate and factual observations of the fish, and certainly the rudd and how the rudd would feed. But yeah, it's quite a lot. At that time I had a different common and a linear mirror that was about the same size as the common, and they were like 3 or 4 centimeters smaller than the largest one I've got now. But they were really different in how they fed. Behaviourally they were very different, confidence they were very different, appetite they were very different. But yeah, it was quite interesting. And the image of my logo on the channel is of those 2 carp that I had, and taken from that video as well. Right, I think that'll do. I might not come back with anything else today. Yeah, I've done some very boring jobs today, and there's not a lot else for me to do because I did the in-pond jobs and the filter clean all in one day yesterday, so no getting in the pond today, although it looks a little bit like it needs it, but it can wait till Saturday. Right then, thanks very much. I will see you in a bit. Hello, it's Tuesday. It's correctly Tuesday, as opposed to last week when I was saying it was Tuesday and it was Monday. I don't know why. It's actually a work day today, one of my long work days, but I do have a reasonably long break. So I thought I'd follow the pattern of the last few days and sit down by the pond with the fish and feed the fish. And we can kind of see this week how I've started reintroducing sitting by the pond and feeding them quite close, and see how confident they get over a week, because I think between the 2 days they got a bit more confident. And again, I'm going to put the tripod selfie stick and the phone quite close to my body, so it will hopefully be less stressy for them. I don't know if I mentioned yesterday, I should really watch back what I've said yesterday before I do the next day's vlog, but I am thinking of using an old phone case and a bit of old stick and permanently sticking it by the pond, just so they get used to something of that shape and casting that shadow, being around the pond all the time. A bit like if you ever watched A Passion for Angling, you have to be a bit old, one of the older people, when they put a scarecrow in the pond so that they could then stand in the pond. This is at Redmire Pool, which is a famous old carp lake, and so that when they stood in it, the carp were used to them being in it. I think it was a little bit hokey as a conceit for the show, but yeah, I'm thinking of doing that, sticking something around the pond like that, so they're used to it being there and they stop worrying about it. So anyway, let's go outside. And it is a much warmer day today. I haven't looked at what the temperature is in the pond. As I said, I'm working, so I've not been doing much. As you can see, they're quite excitable, coming quite close. I'm going to do it a little bit better today, so I'm going to feed smaller amounts, see if that helps. Look, they're basically just waiting there, aren't they? It's great. Throw that up. I'm just going to wait now. Yeah. Common's up first, which is a bit of a rarity. But yeah, I mean, I think from what I was saying before I came and sat by the pond, you can definitely see a difference today compared to what they were like on Sunday. Just started doing it again and just getting them back in the habit, because I hadn't done it for quite a few weeks. But yeah, I mean, food is the route to a carp's heart, really, and to a carp's trust and confidence. Often people talk about fish being friendly or not friendly, and I think by and large no fish is friendly as such. What they are is confident or not confident, and more concerned with eating than they are worried about potential stresses in their environment. And I think basically in a pond, when they get fed, there's nothing to really bad that's going to happen, but they don't know that. So the more hungry they are, and the more that appetite overrides stress, the quicker they'll learn that there's nothing to worry about, and they'll come up around you a lot. But my fish are slightly different. My fish have a kind of a more instinctive cautiousness. So that fish absolutely disproving that. Tend to have a greater cautiousness. So, but once they learn that there's nothing to worry about this, and all they're going to get is some pellets, they stop being quite so stressy. But yeah, a combination of me blocking the what's it called? Me blocking the tripod, or at least the tripod silhouette, definitely seems to work, and just repeating it, just getting the meeting does the trick really. Although I've not, done too much around the pond today, or come and look at the temperature or things like that, I have fed them a couple of times today, and they were just really up for it. They were like excited puppies waiting to be fed. So I do think, although as I've said many times, the water in my pond gains and loses temperature quite slowly. So even though it's been getting warmer over the last couple of days, it doesn't mean the pond's gone up that much in temperature. I think there's definitely been a little bit of a rise since Sunday. That was a dragonfly. I don't know if you saw that. I used to get quite a lot of dragonflies around this pond. Far fewer recently. I used to have, like, in the summer 5 or 6 would be around it, but I think that's probably the third that I've seen, assuming that they're different. Even it might only be 2, but yeah. And this year there's been a lot fewer bees as well. Normally I get quite a lot of bees around the pond, especially when the irises are flowering, but again, very few this year. And in fact, a group of bumblebees, well, a group, I don't know what they're called actually, but some bumblebees were almost resident by my shed, which is why I'll just disrupt this filming, that bee house thing over there. I was trying to sort of convince them to stay, but yeah, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 this year, which is quite sad. I do aim somewhere in that border to have an area that's just going to be flowers as well, and maybe over on the walled area, because as I say, I don't know that those plants are going to do very well. I'd like to have some flowers there as well, because the only real flowers we get in our garden, we grow veg, and there's always plants, in the environment. But I'm just going to point this down a bit more as they're coming quite close. Yeah, the only real flowers are the iris flowers, but they're very short-lived. So I might well plant some proper flowers, maybe encourage some more bees into the garden. So yeah, I just going to decide whether it's going to be on that walled area by the pond or in the border area. I think I'll probably plump for the walled area, just because I want the border to be a little bit more robust plants, so like trees and bushes and ferns and things like that, and plants that are kind of all year round as much as possible. That's not the proper word, all year round, is it? But you know what I mean. So for the rest of the week, I'm going to continue doing this, and I'm going to my living additions to the border should be arriving in the next couple of days, and I'm also going to start, although this may come into next week's vlog, I'm going to start adding an extra row of pavers along the edging by the border, just to create a bit more height and depth. What's the other thing I'm going to do? Can't remember. I should prepare for these. In fairness to me, I've been working. So I've just come straight onto my break, turned off my laptop and come straight to do this. So yeah, I didn't really prepare, which is not great, is it? Now, as I've said before, I don't expect my carp to grow particularly big. You know, I don't expect the common to get to 90 centimetres or you know, all of them to even get to 70 centimetres particularly. But I look at them sometimes and I think if they do start to grow bigger, if say the common reached 80, which is not out of the realms of possibility, and smaller ones all reach 70, this pond would start to look very small, I think, which I've never really wanted. But we'll see. We'll see how big they get. You know, and honestly, as I've said before, if they didn't grow another centimetre but just stayed healthy and you know, confident in their environment, I'd be happy with how big they are now, to be honest. I know I've said this every day on this vlog, I think, and probably a couple of times last week, but the carp pox on that one carp is just, you can almost see it getting better. Oh, is that, no, it's not a bee. I thought it was a bee, talking about bees. You can almost see it getting better each week, which is great. Especially around the mouth, because it had quite a lot on its mouth, and that's cleared up probably better than any other part of it, which is really good, because you know, potentially when they get carp pox really badly on their mouths or on their gills, that's what can cause the biggest problems for them. Now, one of the other things you notice when you sit and watch your fish feed, either because you've filmed them or because you're sat by the pond like I am now, is the comparative amounts that they all eat. Now, I don't think there's a huge difference. I would say that I think the mirror carp are probably invariably take as much, if not more, than the common does. Now, I think that's by and large because they're, ironically, for that little spooky moment, they're more confident than the common is. And in fairness to them, they're not the ones who've been netted twice and had horrible things done to them. So it's not surprising if they're a bit more confident. But they were more confident from the day they were first put in the pond, literally. The day they were put in the pond, they fed that afternoon, like a couple of hours later. And this was, I think, in March. So it wasn't even in a particularly, you know, high appetite time of year. So they've always been very, very food first, risk safety later kind of fish. But I did sort of point you in the direction yesterday of episode 6 and the underwater filming of my original common and, well, technically it's not my original common and mirror, but my second iteration of common and mirror. And that year that I did that filming, the mirror carp ate way more than the common did. Every time I filmed them, it was utterly consistent. Even underwater, where, you know, it's a more natural way on the bottom of the pond for them to be feeding, and they'll invariably feel safer. But, you know, I think on one session of videoing, I threw in about 25, I think, in 2 lots, 11mm pellets, so quite big pellets. And in that period of filming, the mirror carp ate all but one of them, and the common only ate one of them. And these were pellets I've been feeding them for a long time, you know, so the common was very used to them. But the mirror carp ate way more. And actually, in the first couple of years I had them, the mirror carp went from being slightly smaller to slightly bigger in a couple of years. But then I think the third year and the kind of last sort of 18 months I had them before the otter got them, it kind of balanced out and the common started feeding a bit more voraciously and actually caught the mirror carp back up, and it kind of balanced out. So I'm just going to let them finish off all that I've thrown in now, and I think that'll do for today. I mean, it's been quite successful, and this week of yeah, I definitely spooked them. This week of getting them back used to me feeding them and sitting close to the pond, I think has worked in 3 days, which is pretty good. And in fairness, it took about a week. It only took about a week when I first did it. But yeah. Right then, that'll be it. I might not see you tomorrow or Thursday, but I'll definitely come back Friday, because I'm on a day off again Friday and I'll be doing more jobs. But if this lovely warm weather keeps up, you may well see me before that. Anyway, yeah, see you in a bit. Hello, it's Wednesday lunchtime-ish. So something's arrived in the post. I'll just turn the camera around and show you. Right, so I'm just going to show you that little stamp there. Live creatures handled with care. And that's the box. Yeah. Just as well they're not, you know, really fragile. Right, let's get some scissors. Right, let's just put this down. And I will open it up. There you go. Unsurprisingly, it's worms. So my plan is to add, sorry, my filming's awful. My plan is to add quite a lot of worms into that border area and see if they can work their wormy magic in improving the soil. It's not the world's greatest plan, but I'm going to go for it. Right, it is raining a little, but yeah, let's do it now. Anyway, right, just put some gloves on. There's the fish. They're going to get excited. Right. Just give one to the fish. Yeah. Get one more for my fish. Yeah. Right, done and done. I haven't really got any time. I've got to get back to work. But yeah. Go on, worms. Do something useful. Yeah, so I probably could have done with about twice as many. But I got to be honest, I got no real idea if they'll do any good. There's kind of mixed feelings about it. Online, some people will say it's really good. Others will say it's drop in the ocean. Maybe if I'd done it in a bit more of a scientific way, it'd be more of an effect. But you know, it was cheap, and it's quite a natural way of getting the soil going. You know, I'd like to have had about 4 times as many, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you later. Hello, it's still Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. I'm very confused with days. Yeah, so I am working today, but I'm taking my break in 2 lots. So my first lot was the probably very poor filming of introducing the worms to the border area in my garden. And I thought, second break of the day, I thought I'd feed the fish again. And we can continue with seeing how much more confident they've got from yesterday. Hold on one second. Food. I'm not giving them all of that, by the way. Let's go and find them. I'll just turn you around. They're in amongst all the plants trying to find food. They're pretty hungry. I mean, they're carp, aren't they? So, you know, they're always hungry. Unless it's absolutely the middle of winter. All right, then. Let's get this camera in the same position as yesterday. There they are, waiting. They know what this means. And shockingly, it's the carp with carp pox that's up first. I know I keep saying that, but it's so consistent. It's the greediest fish in the pond. And the common's just going to hang just below the surface and come and see what's what. I think, if anything, they're a little bit more cautious than they were yesterday. But I think a lot of that is I've already fed them quite a lot today. I've been in and out all day, and every time I go and make a cup of coffee or grab a drink or grab a snack or something, or put worms into earth, I've been feeding them. So I think maybe they're not quite as hungry as they normally would be. I love the colour of those 2 carp that have got quite a lot of scales. The one that's nearly fully scaled and one that's nearly a linear. Both got really good colours as well. Now the commons come up now. It was a little bit dubious to begin with. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but my air pump is really getting louder and louder, I think. And I don't know if it's just the shelf it's on. But if anyone's got any tips for reducing the sound of your air pump, I'd gratefully receive them. The other thing I do that you can't see me do is I don't do very big arm movements when I'm throwing pellets in. I think if I do a really exaggerated arm movement, they always spook off it. So it's very slow, very small arm movements. Trying to tempt the common in close then. There's a nice trail of pellets leading the common in ever closer. It's whether it's it's going to follow them, but it's gone off on some ones that are still far away. Oh, I don't know. And for scale, because of this camera, they're about 2 foot away from the side, and she's about a foot. Yeah, that common loves to hang just quite close in, but in sort of mid-water rather than coming up, and just have a look and see what I'm doing whilst it chews on its pellets. It does make me think if how big. So that carp I've got, when I got her, she was 67 centimetres. I don't know how long she is now, I've not measured her. And she was 13.5 pounds. So, you know, for those of you who've gone carp fishing and caught fish, you know, over 20 pounds, just imagine how big they'd look in here. And I guess if you've got carp that are 80 centimetres or so, they'd probably be pushing that, I would think. Maybe certainly 90 centimetres. I mean, it depends on body depth and width, doesn't it? But you'd be pushing 90 centimetres, you'd be pushing 30 pounds, maybe more. It all depends on other dimensions, doesn't it? Not just length. I mean, the mirror carp, I don't think, even if they had the genetics to get as big as they could possibly get, and this pond provided them with the environment to do it, they still wouldn't reach 90 centimetres because it's just not the body shape they've got. They've got a very sort of like shorter, deeper body shape. So, I mean, God, if they got 90 centimetres, they'd be like 45, 50 pounds, and they're not going to get that. that big. I would quite like them to get 60 centimetres, because again, with their body shape, 60 centimetres is going to be big. Probably as heavy as the common was at 67 centimetres, if not more so. But anyway, I think I've put them off. I'm going to call it a day for today, and I will see you tomorrow. The last thing I will say, the worms all managed to get underground before any birds ate them, so in case you were worried, I'm sure you wasn't. Anyway, see you later. Hello, it's Friday. It's been quite a good day so far today. I've got some bits done. Well, I've done three things. One worked, and I'm pretty happy with it. One nearly worked, and one didn't really work at all. But we'll talk through them in a bit. I'm just going to go and sit by the pond in a minute and end the week how we kind of started it, which is, trying to build up confidence in the carp, which has worked really well, and just observe the fish a bit more and have some chats by the pond. So obviously I'm in the garage. There's not a lot going on in here. I did do a bit of work in here earlier, but I've already tidied up. I know, amazing. I'm turning over a new leaf, which is ironic when you find out what that job was. Amazing. Right then, I'm going to turn you around. No, I'm not. We're going to carry on like this. That's what we're going to do. So, I've also had a brainwave this week whilst I was out in the garage. But I'm not going to tell you what that's all about. Maybe never. No, it's not a harebrained scheme. It's just somewhat unlikely. So I don't really want to talk about it because I feel I might jinx it. I don't mind sharing all my harebrained schemes. There's one of them today that I'll share with you in a bit. But yeah, I don't really mind sharing most of them. But this one, I really, really want it to happen. So yeah, I don't really want to talk about it in case I jinx it. Right, if you look behind me up there, yeah, I fixed the gutter on the conservatory. How about that? Now, it's only mostly fixed because that different colour end on it isn't really a proper end. It doesn't really fit properly. So I need to get another one, and then I need to take off all the brackets, the old and the new, and I need to slide it along. For some reason it's about 4 inches over, which isn't helping. So, but it's in a much better state than it was. So that's one of the jobs, and that's a pretty good job. Now, right, let's sit down a minute. Oh, this is a really good view, isn't it? Right. Oh dear, I'm old. It's a lovely day though. The weather looks lovely. So this is, yeah, we'll just talk through some of the stuff today. So as I said, done the gutter. Very pleased about that. It looks better even if it doesn't function 100% yet. Now the other thing I've done, which I'll show you up here, is the air in the moving bed wasn't really working properly, and I thought it was going to be quite a big job of kind of fiddling with the speed fit fittings and the pipe that I use and things like that. And actually it was really simple. It took me 2 minutes. It's not perfect, as you can probably see from this video. This is the after video. As you can probably see, it's not perfect. There is still a couple of quite small dead spots and places where a small amount of media just sort of sticks, but it's a lot better than it was. I think I could probably do with, instead of having a round disc on the bottom, those sort of long, sort of round but rectangular profile. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a long day and a long week. But yeah, using 2 of them instead might have better movement. I don't know. So that's something for the future. It's not something I'm particularly worried about. It'll probably be next year. It's probably a 2025 problem. But it's certainly working a lot better than it was. So that's good. Now the other job. Now you may have noticed through this week's videos, and I've said that I picked up the feeding ring because I wasn't particularly happy with it. It wasn't really, stopping the carp feeding underneath the plant and maybe knocking their head and that sort of thing. It didn't really succeed in that, and it wasn't really protecting the lilies either. And over time it was starting to sink, so the pellets would come out. So it wasn't working brilliantly, and it looked horrible. So I'm just going to show you a little clip of a video, and I will pause myself and just play it. Yeah, so I spent quite a long time attaching some $4.99 fake lilies to the feeding ring, and then seeing what it... I'm just interrupting myself because right down there the fish are just queuing up down by the side of the pond because they're thinking, why are you sat there and you're not feeding us? But anyway, I spent all that time sticking that stuff on, and it just looks horrible. The feeding ring looked better on its own. They're quite nice, even for quite a cheap price. They're quite nice artificial lilies pads, but the colour is so different that it kind of puts it off. So part of me thinks I might age them a bit. So I might leave them out in the sun, leave them out to the elements, and see if the colour kind of fades off a bit and gets a bit brighter, and they might look a bit better then. And then do a better job, and maybe get some more as well. But that's all to the future. So that's the real kind of failure of the job today. But you know, I've learned something, and I've got more plans. So not a bad thing really. So these fish are calling out for some food. So let's do that. So I'm going to turn you around. There we go. Just the angle of the camera is awful. Right, there we go. The sun's not really on the pond yet. It may look like it is on the video, but the sun isn't really quite on the pond yet, so it's still a bit dull. They magically want the pellets to just sink into their mouth, but they're just a little bit cautious of coming up. Yeah, there we go. I don't have to worry. There's always the mirror carp at the fast up, and then it gets the common carps come up too, which is good. I was thinking the other day I should probably put I've got a Polaroid lens that I can fit over the lens of the iPhone, because that's what I'm filming on, and that would probably make all this stand out even better. I mean, it's pretty good, I think. I think the quality is pretty good, because the water is relatively clear, to be honest, but it could look even better, I guess. So yeah, as I said, this is going to be my last video this week. This is going to be the vlog for this week. I'm thinking about next week and what I'm going to get up to. So I'm going to do the edging around the border. I'm going to raise it up a brick height, just so I can add more earth to it, but it's not going to like overspill onto the path, because that's what it tends to do. I might slow down some of my jobs in the pond. So I've noticed this week the plants haven't really grown that much, so I don't know if I'm necessarily going to cut them or cut much off the height. I might just cut some of the broken ones away when I get in the pond on Monday. I'm not gonna, I think as I mentioned last week, I'm not going to take the Tempest out and do a big clean. I definitely think treating the pond for algae helped break down what was in the Tempest, so then it got flushed away on the normal cleaning. So I don't need to take Tempest apart. I will do at some point, either at the end of the summer or the beginning of next year, really, and clear it out. Probably autumn, I'll probably do it then. But I am going to take the pressure filter out and I'm going to give that a big clean. Yeah, and a couple of other jobs I want to do that I'll see if I actually get around to doing them. Again, working 3 days next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So most of what I'll get done next week will be Monday and Tuesday, I would predict. And maybe a bit more next Saturday. Now, it may look like today they are more cautious and nervous than they were at the very beginning of the week. And there's a degree to which that's true. But we have to put that into the context, as I've been doing a fair amount in the garden today. And also we had a gas engineer around, and he wanted to come out and have a look. So he was stood by the pond for about a quarter of an hour, and they literally went to the back underneath the lilies. They were not happy with an unknown shape by the pond. It is quite interesting how they differentiate different, although similar, human silhouettes. It is quite interesting. My previous carp were really funny, and one of my sons, who's a very similar shape to me, body shape to me, they would absolutely spook every time he comes near the pond. And for me, you know, over time they didn't, but he would come to the pond and it would actually spook them. Right then, I think that'll do today. I'm quite hot. I want to have some food and have a drink. So I will wrap up this vlog. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I am at, well, it's hard to know how many subscribers I'm at to now, because it keeps changing. I've gone between 930 and 932 on and off all week. I think I am at 932 again, but I keep losing and gaining. It's very weird. I'm going to say I'm at 932, which means I've got 68 to go. Yeah, which is good. It's looking good. As I said the other week though, views are my issue. But you know, that's life. Yeah, as I said, if you like this video, please like, please subscribe, please share, please comment, and I will see you next time.